This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, Madhu. Okay, let me see. No, I cannot hear anything. Okay, guys. So talking about big data. So what is big data and why do we need big data and why it is having so much of demand in the industry? We have to discuss now. Okay. And most of the companies, they were switching to big data. So why there is a sudden job demand in the market for big data? These are the many things we need to understand. First thing, today I'm going to discuss actually why it's becoming so popular and why we should learn big data and how it is going to be useful to you. What is the demand of job market in the industry? What exactly is happening in the industry, not outside industry? Okay, because at learning level people might tell so many things. That is a different story. But actually, the ground level there will be a different. The facts are different. Okay, so the hype is different. The fact is different. 3 years back, when you talk about big data, that is Hadoop actually. If you say big data, what we call Hadoop, there is more hype for Hadoop and less job market. And same thing happening for data science. I don't say we don't have data science jobs. There is more hype for data science and less jobs, but more jobs for big data, but less people. This is one thing I would like to tell you. Why that is the case? What exactly is big data then? We'll talk about that first. Let's understand it. There is nothing like big data in sense. You know about that. There is nothing new or something. It's not something coming from a other planet. Okay, data doesn't come from other planets. It is there which we see regularly in our social media, like like Facebook, like Twitter, like Netflix, like what is that? YouTube. All this forms the big data. Usually, earlier, 10 years back, when there is no social media or when there is a little presence of social media, the data which is generated day to day is just only related to mostly enterprise related data. Okay, when you go back to 10 years, the data which is there, it belongs to the enterprise or organizational data. That's what I'm just going to the ground levels. Might be people might talk about this, but this is not actually this information you don't get directly in many sources. So I'm trying to give you a clear picture like what exactly is big data. When you have organizational data, which is related to some particular company. Suppose you talk about Tata, or you talk about uh, maybe Amazon is not best example, because Amazon has been very popular from the last 2 to 3 years, which it might be there from many years. And then another best company like Qualcomm. Okay, so there are many other topmost companies in the Microsoft or all these companies. Organizational data in sense what which is something related to their projects or client information. That's all. Other forms of data is very less 10 years back. You know, might be if you remember, slowly this social media started with something called Orkut. If you remember, there is something Orkut. At least my age people have some. When we are in degree stage, or the graduation stage or post PG stage, this Orkut was there. That Orkut has transformed to, that is actually a kind of, now it has become Facebook. Okay, that Facebook has people, and again it has, we have Instagram, and again besides this again you have YouTube from Google, and again, okay, if I keep talking like this, you can keep on adding so many kinds of social media applications like this. And also, as time passed, like year by year, when things were going like this, you know, the demand for data, the word data keep being very popular. It became very popular. Data became very popular because earlier, like 10 years back, we don't even know exactly, like we data is there, but like what we are hearing right now, like everybody talks about big data or data science. This data word had been very popular since last 3 to 4 years, if I am not wrong. Why sudden upsurge in this in this data thing? Because of the emergence of so many social media technologies and social media websites, and e-commerce is one more popular source. Is e-commerce nowadays? If you see, people are not going to the shops. At least many people, shops are coming to home, and behind this, what is that? The source is again e-commerce websites. 10 years back, I don't think if they might be there, but it is very less. But now, every day or at least once in a month or for every 6 months, somebody is coming with new application. Even you, tomorrow you can start something of your own. You got the point, right? Means, what is the source for all this? If you ask a question, for all this source is data. Suppose I want to order some, vegetables, or I want to order some, some household items. Then I have to choose some website and I have to register in that and I have to order. That registration, all that registration gets into the database of that e-commerce website. And my shopping details, that is also a data. In this way, whatever I try to communicate in that website, it becomes data. And that becomes a source. Actually, that is one of the very important things. So point is, because of emergence of this social media and new age uh, techniques and tools, the data became very important source. So I think I am taking more time to make you understand this, okay? But just get some idea. So point is simple, and how this data is accumulated. Earlier, it might be in GBs. Later on, it might be earlier in the beginning. It might be MBs in the very beginning, like in 1980s or 1990s. Later on, it became GBs. Later on, it became TBs. Later on, it became what is that? Again, some, what the exact so terabyte. After terabyte, I can tell PBs. Exactly. Thank you. Petabytes. PB. Petabyte again. People had it came to the zettabyte. Right now, we are, of course, zettabytes data is there, but most when you talk about data now, actually like again when I go to 10 years back, because I remember that is the time just this computer just had been popular in the middle class or below middle class households. Okay, for us, we remember very much about MB, and GB is a very big thing. But once we get into the industry, TV became big thing. But now TV is also nothing, and people are traveling towards ZB. And there are so many other things after this. Okay, we don't need to get into too much of that. Fine. So, point is what? As this much amount of data is getting generated. So earlier, how we used to store data? You tell me. We use RDBMS machines. So let's talk about it. If it is there in MBs or GBs of data or TBs of data at least. Okay. What is the source for us? We used to use RDBMS. What is that? RDBMS or what we call databases. Okay. Are you following? So people used to use data like what is that Oracle, like SQL Server, like of course if you go to the little bit bigger things like Teradata, okay, Cassandra, Teradata, okay, something like this, okay, little bigger databases. Okay, these were the major sources for storing data. You got the point, right? Yeah. But what happened again after some time? I think somebody, Srikanth, please mute your machine, Srikanth. Okay. But now again after some time, what happened? Again, challenge. There is a challenge for the people. Data had been coming so much, and the technology or the tools which is used to store this data and process this data are not up to the requirement. That is when this big data came into the picture. This word big data had been started, called by the people. And for that, they introduced, actually, Google had produced a white paper on something called big data something. Okay, there is a exactly, I don't exactly remember the word, but they are the people which initiated because I didn't, I came with, as I am working professional, I don't, mostly, what is that? These things, usually we Google it, nothing to worry. Something, let me just check it. Let me just check on this. Google's white paper on, so that we can just have a quick, even I can remember once on big data or map reduce is also fine. Uh, yes, this one. Okay, big table. They had started developing something called big table, and that big table again, Apache people they took it and they tried to convert it to Hadoop. Okay, and then again that Hadoop had been improving since this Apache people took it, and then there are versions Hadoop 1.x, 2.x, and still this process is going on. Okay, that's how the emergence of big data had happened. So finally, what exactly this big data machines do? Big data is in sense it's not something new or something which we don't know. We see it regularly, but data which is huge amount of data, that's what we call big data. That's all. So what is big data here? It is nothing but huge amount of data. Okay, are you following? What do you mean by huge amount of data? Large data, which is not, this is not, we cannot store this in just normal RDBMS machines. Excuse me. We need some sophisticated machines. okay, to handle this big data. That sophisticated machines are nothing but big data machines. And the best example is Hadoop is one such example. Okay. Similarly, again to process and store this big data after Hadoop, then again that maybe if you ask only, do you have only this? There is something called Spark, and then Apache Storm, Apache Flink. There are so many things like this. Okay, Apache Kafka. This is a streaming again, streaming thing. Many, big data tools were available. The purpose of these are used to process, or they are used to store and process this big data. You got it right. So now, what should we learn? There is a small typo here. Let me correct it. Then what should we learn here? We should learn actually Hadoop and Spark. And Storm is, of course, it's up to you whether to go with Storm or not. Okay. To store this big data, this huge amount of data, which is beyond, again, this is beyond the capacity of what normal RDBMS. Okay. And that is where when, what is that, this big data, big data technologies are required. Understood now? Hope this is clear for all of you gentlemen. Any questions on this? Are you following? Veera, Madhu, Srikanth? I think I'm just giving you introduction. This is not something, but just giving you some idea. So next one. So then we'll start with Hadoop first. Okay. Finally got clarity, right? If you just want to define big data, it is a huge amount of data which is beyond the capacity of storage of RDBMS and processing of RDBMS. Okay, that is big data. And usually big data needs big data machines to process this data. For that, there are new age technologies like Hadoop, Spark, like Storm, Flink. All these are new age technologies, and Kafka, many more. There might be so many, but the popular, which were very popular right now. So Hadoop was popular like 2 3 years back. That Hadoop stack, there are so many ecosystems, but right now only few of them were used in the industry, and remaining had been outdated. Like we'll talk on that. You don't need to get. I'm just giving you a quick overview. We'll see diagrams and we'll get a clear picture about. First, we'll talk at least for some time, for 1 week. We will just get a clear understanding about the environment of all this, like how this Hadoop works, what's the architecture of Hadoop behind this, and what is the difference between this Hadoop and RDBMS. We're going to talk so many things. Okay, we'll talk. Anyhow, that's a long discussion. We'll keep it. We'll preserve it for the coming sessions. Next, I think this is definition. Then what is this Hadoop then? Before that again, or anyhow, we can continue. Hadoop is nothing but a big data technology or a big data software. Okay, and the purpose of this is what it is used to. Okay, which is used to store. Means software doesn't store. We store data in the machines only, but to store and process large amount of data, large amounts of data, and which is beyond the capacity of what? Which is the beyond capacity of. I'm just typing so that you get some clear picture. Capacity of RDBMS machines. Otherwise, just RDBMS. That's enough. Okay. So the basic what this does is it is used to store and it is used to process. But if you ask if it is a software, how can this store? See, if you want to store or if you want to execute the data on that machines, we need this software. See, there will be this is a combination of hardware and software. You have very big clusters. We store this big data or the huge data which is coming from different sources on clusters of machines, big clusters. Many systems combined together is called as a cluster. And cluster is just hardware. But just hardware alone is not sufficient. Suppose you purchase a laptop without keeping OS inside your laptop. If you don't install OS, can you use that hardware for anything? You can only just sell it for onions if you don't have that operating system. Similarly, Hadoop or Spark or Kafka or Storm or Flink, all these are such kind of softwares which takes care of all this data process storage and data processing. Got it right? That's it, guys. Understood now? Next one. That's a simple idea. We'll talk more on this because this discussion cannot be done in just half an hour or 1 hour discussion. This is a very big discussion and it has to continue for what is that? All this discussion has to continue for next at least 2 to 3 months. Then you get so a perfect exposure on this big data or Hadoop and Spark because we focus on Hadoop and Spark. Of course, if required, we might discuss Kafka also. These are our priorities. Apart from that, we talk too many languages. Like first we'll take priority as scalar. Later on, if required, I'm not sure. I don't because anyhow Python sessions will keep be happening. Java anyhow, if required, I'll just give a touch-based analysis. Otherwise, I'll give the sources how to where to learn Java. My sources only. I don't give anybody other sources so that you can learn Java also from my sources. So in that way, I will expose you to all the languages and all the different ecosystems or the big data stack. Right nowadays this full stack is a very popular word. Even for big data, there is a big stack you have to learn. In so many technologies, so many tools, so many languages are present inside a stack. That is what we mean stack is. Okay, I will expose you to everything. I only just need your that interest and the burning desire to learn things, and I'll guide you in the right way. After next 3 months, just you can start attending the interviews. I'm very sure you don't need much time with the kind of you just do what I'm asking, practice what I'm asking you to, and solve what I'm asking you to. Work on use cases which I'm asking you to do, and definitely you don't need much time after the program. You are ready to start working on some project. Okay, so that's how it is. Anyhow, Madhu and Srikanth, you know about it. Veera is the only one who is new here for us. Okay, so nothing to worry about it. What do you say, gentlemen? So that's the idea about this. Just I think I switched off to something else after this. Now, I'm just because this is a demo, I'm trying to give you a clear idea how this session goes, what we are going to learn, and what after 3 months what you become. And still, if you are in Hyderabad, you can come to me on weekends. You can take my support physically. If you are out of station, then you can contact me through online. That is also fine. Excuse me, guys. That's it. So now, so when you talk about big data, what is this big data is all about? How many, like how to categorize this? Should excuse me, guys. Something. 1 minute. So now when you talk about big data, how many types of big data is there? There is structured data, unstructured, okay, or otherwise let me organize like this: semi-structured and unstructured. Structured in sense which is in the form of tables. Okay, it's stored in the form of tables or inside tables. Usually the this RDBMS data that is structured. Might be you can ask me. You told that, sir, we don't use RDBMS if you are using big data or big data machines. See, this big data again will work with the RDBMS also. If I say if you are using big data, it doesn't mean that we are avoiding big data or we are. It's not a substitute for RDBMS. It will also work with this RDBMS together. Got it right? Sometimes we integrate big data with many RDBMS machines. We integrate it with Oracle and we can integrate with SQL Server. We can integrate with MySQL. You can integrate with some other RDBMS also. Are you following? Means big data, I think I am not confusing. If I say if you are using big data means when data is more than the capacity of RDBMS, then this will come into the picture. But again, when you are using big data, it doesn't mean that you are using only big data environment to store this data. Even we might integrate other RDBMS systems also to big data so that we can create a harmonious system. Got it right? So that we can efficiently manage the things. Clear now? So when you say structured data, it comes in the form of tables. Actually, if you ask me, at least in most of the projects, either the data will be in either structured or semi-structured. Okay, semi-structured in sense something like this, like in JSON form or something like JSON, something like XML, something like CSV, etc. And if you ask me how data comes in a real project, I'm not going to talk about my project, but I'm just giving you an idea how exactly what kind of data you see in real projects. You can just make a point here. You can underline this and you can check with anyone of your known sources. In a real-time big data projects, at least 80 to 90% of the projects, your data might be a semi-structured or structured data. Only in very few projects you might have a structured, unstructured data. So far, I didn't use unstructured data throughout my 3 years of career in Hadoop. In a real projects, I didn't use unstructured data. Got it right? Either I have used semi-structured or structured. Right now, which I am working is completely semi-structured. Either our data will be in JSON form or CSV form. You don't get even any other formats. Mostly it will be JSON form. Every day, at least if not every day, at least in a week, we try to load some 3 to 4 JSON data files. Got it right? So I'm giving you a clear picture so that tomorrow you can talk in the interview with confidence. Okay, this is my data. I get data like this. I store like this. I'm using this to process. I'm giving that clarity here so that you don't need to again go through run and after n number of websites, n number of YouTube channels, because trust me, after when you run after all this, after after going through many YouTube channels, many websites, you might get some information which is not accurate, the fundamental part. Got it right? But actual happening is, you get it, you get it from someone who is actually working in the technology. Got it right? So I have given a very clear picture to you. So mostly what data we get, either semi-structured or structured. Unstructured might be there. I don't, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to rule out this. I don't completely say there is no unstructured. It might be there, but it is just only in very few projects. Okay, what is unstructured? Which is in the form of images, which is in the form of audio, which is in the form of video, like this, all this, etc. Which you see in your best example is if you open your Facebook, whatever you see in that, that is your, that's nothing but unstructured. Okay, what do you see in Facebook? You see videos, you see audios, you see images, you see what else? You might see some text data, all this unstructured. But how this is coming? What is the percentage of this data coming in a real scenario? I told the percentage of usage, what kind of data we use in real time. But actually structured is very less. It is just only a 20%, 10 to 20%, not even more than. You get 10 to 20% structured. And even this is also same thing, 10 to 20% unstructured, sorry, semi-structured, and rest, okay, 60 to 80% is what? Unstructured. Okay, got the point, right? If you work in a Facebook project, then mostly you can see unstructured data. But if you go and work in a, so for some other organizational data, big data technologies, for example, you work for some kind of life insurance project, or some kind of medical project, some kind of bank project, then you see data coming in the form of semi-structured or structured. You don't see their unstructured. But if you go to Facebook, if you go to YouTube, there you can see unstructured data. Following, right? Then you can play there. Then you can learn there how to process unstructured. Again, you have to convert that unstructured to structured. There is no other choice for us, of course, for doing predictions. Why do we need data? What do you do with the data? You tell me. I gave you data. What do you do with the data? Tell me. Why people are after this data, big data, or data science, or why even many organizations are after this technologies? Because you analyze, and you, what is that? You understand the competition in the market. You come up with some strategies. Okay, data helps you to understand the pulse of the customer, understand the pulse of the market, understand the pulse of many things. So that's why for companies, data is very important. Money is not important for them. More than money, data is very important. Got this point? So this is a basic categorization. And how do you decide what is that? How do you decide the characteristics of big data? Characteristics of big data. People call it as 3 V's. Of course, more V's are also there in the internet websites. You can go through that. I just talk about the core things: volume, velocity, and veracity. Okay. So these are the characteristics of big data. Volume decides at what volume we get this data. That is that. Velocity means at what speed data is coming. Veracity means what type of data we are getting. It means variety, in fact. Okay. So the characteristics of big data is defined by this. Earlier, this is very big thing. Nowadays, nobody cares about all this. Suppose if I am in the interview panel, I only ask people. I'll straight away go to the. I don't ask them questions like what is difference between flat map and map. What is difference between that this big data and how to have map reduce and spark. I never ask such questions. I only ask a question like this. What is your project? What you are doing in your project? If you are doing in your project, how you are working in your project? I'll only try to ask his work. I don't ask this. I clearly tell to the interview, those who are attending the interview when I am in the panel, I clearly tell them what is that. I don't want website answers. I don't want Amirpet, the very big guru's answers. I just only ask them stick to the point. Don't go away from the points. What I need is what you are working, what is necessity. Other things I don't need it. Got it right. So these things had been outdated nowadays. But why I am talking here is because just to get some quick idea if you don't have it. If you have already some idea, then it's fine. That's good for all of us. Okay. So this is for today, guys, because I just want to initiate the session. But still, I actually there is a good tempo now. Even I have that interest to continue, but still I have work to complete, and I have to submit to the my on-site lead. Okay, so I have to do all this, and also other activities are there for me. So is it fine, right? Got some, got anything? You can speak on this thing, no issues.